The first time Adesua realized she was invisible was on her 12th birthday. She had been standing beside her two older sisters, Bisi and Funke, at a family gathering when their mother's friend beamed at them. Bisi, you are growing more beautiful every day. And Funke, your skin is just glowing. Madam, you really gave birth to queens. Mother chuckled, clearly pleased. Adesua had smiled shyly, waiting for her own turn, but the woman's eyes never rested on her. She wasn't acknowledged, not even with a forced compliment. Her heart squeezed in pain, but she swallowed it. This was normal. Anytime they went out together, it was always the same story. People admired her sisters but overlooked her. And whenever she made a mistake at home, her mother's words always cut like blades. You ugly duckling, can't you do anything right? She will yell. It reached a point where she would stare at herself in the mirror, tracing the curves of her face, searching for the flaws that made her different. Sometimes she even wondered if she was truly her mother's child. By the time Adesua was 16, she had been in and out of several relationships, each one leaving her more shattered than the last. First was Jide. He seemed sweet at first, always calling her a special girl, but in 2 weeks, she caught him kissing her classmates. When she comforted him, he called her ugly. Then came Toby, who used her as a distraction from his real girlfriend. She had been nothing but a side piece, a secret he did not want the world to see. Daniel was the worst. He made her feel special, told her she was beautiful, made her trust him, only to end things by laughing in her face. You actually thought I loved you? You. Have you taken a good look at yourself, Adesua? I was just having fun. Nothing serious. Every relationship confirmed what her mother had always said to her. She wasn't good enough. And then came Ade. Ade was different. From the first day they met in her second year at the university, he made her feel like the most beautiful girl in the world. He had said, his eyes trailing over her face as she sat across from him in the school library. You are breathtaking. She had looked over her shoulder to be sure if he was actually talking to someone else, but he wasn't. Ade saw her, and for the first time, Adesua felt seen. He showered her with gifts, new dresses, the latest iPhone, a gold wristwatch that sparkled under the sun. He took her to fancy restaurants, whispered sweet things in her ears. I love you, he said often, and she believed him. One night, as they lay in bed after a date, as Ade played with a strand of her hair, "You trust me, right?" he said. "Of course," she whispered, pressing closer to him. He exhaled deeply, as if debating something. Then he leaned in. "There is something that turns me on, baby." Her heartbeat quickened. "What is it?" she asked curiously. He hesitated, then pulled out his phone, showing her a blurry video of a girl undressing. "I love watching real unfiltered videos," he admitted. Real girls in their natural state. Adesua was shocked for a second. "I don't understand. I would love if you could send me some videos, maybe of you or even your roommate," he said. Her stomach twisted. "Ade, what are you talking about?" "It's okay. I will never force you to do anything, baby," he murmured, stroking her arm. "I just thought we shared everything, but if you are uncomfortable with this, it's fine." She saw it then, the slight disappointment in his eyes, the way he withdrew himself, the fear of losing him gripped her chest like a vice. The next night, she did it. She waited until her roommate Sarah was changing, then secretly recorded a short clip and sent to him. His response was instant. "Oh, baby, you are the best. I will send you something for this." Minutes later, and her alert popped up on her phone. 50,000 naira. Her hands trembled. As days passed by, this became a routine. She recorded her roommates when they were unaware, stepping out of the shower, dressing up, wearing only shorts and a tank top. Ade always paid handsomely well. At first, guilt glowered at her, but then she could remember all the times she was ignored, belittled, made to feel invisible. For once, she had something valuable. For once, she was important to somebody. One evening, Sarah walked into the room while Adesua was reviewing a video before sending it. She froze. Sarah's face darkened as she looked into the screen. Her own bare figure staring back at her. A suffocating silence filled the room. What the hell is this? What the hell is this? Adesua's words shattered in an instant. The room was silent, too silent. Sarah's eyes flickered between Adesua's face and the phone screen. Her breath grew heavier, her hands clenched into trembling fists. Adesua's heart pounded against her ribs. Explain now! Sarah's voice was dangerously low. Adesua tried to speak, but her throat had gone dry. Sarah snatched the phone from her grip, staring at the video in horror. You? Her voice cracked. You are recording me? While I'm dressing? For what? Adesua sprang to her feet. Sarah, please, I can explain. But Sarah wasn't listening. She tapped furiously on the phone screen, scrolling through the gallery. The realization drowned on her. Oh my God! She stumbled backward as if Adesua was a snake. It's not just me. You recorded all of us. Adesua stepped forward, desperation thick in her voice. Please, let me explain. It's not what you think, Sarah. Sarah's head snapped up, her eyes burning with rage. Not what I think. She shoved the phone in Adesua's face. Then what is this? Adesua felt the walls closing in. Panic crawled at her chest. If Sarah exposed her, if this got out, I swear, I didn't mean to hurt anyone. Adesua's voice cracked. It, it, it was just Ade. He asked me to. Sarah's face twisted in disgust. Ade, that useless boy you are always running after. He asked you to record your own roommate and you did? Tears swelled in Adesua's eyes. He loves me, Sarah. He makes me feel special. I just wanted to make him feel. A sharp slap cut her off. The force of it sent her stumbling backward. Sarah's entire body was shaking. You are sick, Adesua. Adesua clutched her burning cheek, tears streaming down. Sarah, please. Sarah turned away, heading for the door. Where are you going? Adesua's voice was barely a whisper. Sarah didn't look back. To report you, of course. Adesua's blood turned to ice. If Sarah reported her to the school authorities, it would be over. Everything, her reputation, her studies, her future, and then Ade. Ade would abandon her. A surge of terror shot through her. She couldn't let that happen. She lunged forward, grabbing Sarah's arm. Sarah, please don't do this. Let go of me, Sarah struggled, trying to yank off her arm from her. Adesua tightened her grip. Just listen to me. Sarah shoved her hard. I said let go. Adesua lost her balance, crashing into the table. The phone slipped from Sarah's grip, clattering to the floor. For a moment, everything was still. Then Sarah made a move for the phone. Adesua reacted on instinct. She grabbed a glass flower from the table. The flower glass shattered against Sarah's head. Sarah gasped, stumbling backward, her hands flying to the side of her head. Blood trickled between her fingers. Adesua froze. Sarah's eyes were wide with shock, pain, and betrayal. Then she fell. Her body hit the ground with a sickening thud. Silence take over. Adeswa's breathing was ragged. Her whole body trembled as she stared at Sarah's unconscious form. What had she done? Her chest rose and fell rapidly. Sarah wasn't moving. The fear in Adeswa's stomach turned into a living thing, crying at her inside. Her mind screamed at her to run, to call for help. But then her phone vibrated. She glanced at the screen. It was Ade. "Do you send the video, baby?" Ade asked. A cold realization settled over her. Adesua stood frozen, staring at Sarah's limp body. The blood stain on the floor spread slowly, dark and terrifying. Her breathing was ragged, her hands trembling violently. What had she done? Her pulse hammered against her ears. Sarah was still breathing. If she woke up, she will ruin everything. Adesua's phone vibrated again. Ade, "Baby, are you there?" Her fingers twitched as she picked up the phone. She swallowed hard, her voice shaking as she typed, "Ade, I messed up." The reply came instantly. "What do you mean? What happened?" Adesua stole a glance at Sarah, her chest tightening. "Sarah found out. We fought. I think I hurt her." "Hurt her? How?" Ade replied. "I hit her with a glass. She's not waking up. I don't know what to do." "Baby, listen to me. You need to fix this now." Adesua's fingers shook as she typed, "How? Is she dead?" She knelt beside Sarah, placing her fingers. A pause. Weak. "No, no, she's not dead, but she'll wake up soon. That's a problem, baby. You know that, right?" Her stomach twisted. "What do? I don't know what to do." "Finish it," Ade said. Adesua's breath caught in her throat. "What? Baby, think. If she wake up, she'll report you. The school will expel you. The police will arrest you. Everything you've worked for, gone." Tears welled in Adesua's eyes. "I can't do this, Ade. I can't. Besides, she's still alive." "You don't have a choice." Adesua squeezed her eyes shut, shaking her head. This wasn't happening. This wasn't real. She opened her eyes, staring at Sarah's unconscious face. Sarah had always been kind, the one who shared her food, helped her with assignments, defended her when other roommates laughed at her, and now she had to kill her. Adesua's whole body trembled. Her phone vibrated again. "Baby, are you still listening to me?" She didn't respond. "Don't be stupid, Adesua. If you don't handle this, you will go to jail. Do you know that?" A fresh wave of panic washed over her. "Jail? No. She can't allow that happen." Her shaking fingers hovered over Sarah's throat. One squeeze, and that is all it will take. She thought she could do it. She had to do it. She squeezed her eyes shut, taking a deep, trembling breath. Then a knock on the door. Her eyes snapped open. "Sarah! Adesua! It's Grace! Sarah! Adesua! Are you in there?" It was Grace, their third roommate. Adesua's heart nearly burst out of her chest. "Are you guys in there?" Grace's voice muffled through the door. "I heard a noise. Are you guys okay?" Adesua looked at Sarah, then at the door. She was out of time. She had to decide now. The knock came again, louder this time. "Adesua, Sarah, are you guys okay?" Adesua's mind raced. Grace. She could hear the concern in her voice, but Adesua couldn't afford to let anyone in, not now. Her eyes darted between the door and Sarah's motionless body. The second felt like hours, her heart breath pounding so loudly that it drowned out other sound in the room. The knock came again, harder this time. "Open the door, Adesua." "Sarah, open the door. What's going on?" Adesua felt her breath catch in her throat. Her hands trembled as she reached for the door handle. It could be easy to open and lie, tell Grace that everything was fine, that Sarah just had a little accident, but that would only buy her a few minutes. Minutes that may turn into a lifetime of consequences. She glanced down at Sarah's face once more. her friend, her roommate, the person who had shown her kindness. Her fingers clutched the door handle. She was about to turn it when a soft noise broke the silence. It came from Sarah. Adesua had stopped. She could feel her pulse in her ears, louder than the pounding on the door. Adesua froze. If Sarah woke up now, she would scream and everything would be over. Sarah, no, not now. Adesua whispered. Her hands shot out towards the nightstand as she reached for a bottle of pills. The tiny white tablets glowed in the dim light. She had only planned to use them for stress, but now Adesua poured out the pills and crushed them into powder with her finger. She took a deep breath, staring at Sarah, who was still groaning on the floor, her hand weak, moving to her temple. The pills, they would slow Sarah down. The door rattled again. Adesua's hands were shaking as she mixed the powder into the glass of water on her decks. She could hear Grace outside. Adesua, Sarah, what's going on in there? Let me in, open the door. Adesua turned to Sarah, who was now mumbling, struggling to sit up. Adesua had to act fast. She took the glass and walked slowly towards Sarah, her eyes filled with regret, but her mind was made up. There is no going back. Sarah blinked, her vision blurry, as she tried to focus on Adesua. What happened? She asked. You just fainted, Sarah, Adesua said. Her voice steady, but her inside were twisted with guilt. You are okay. Just drink this and you'll feel better. Sarah looked confused, but she didn't resist. She slowly took the glass from Adesua's shaking hands, lifting it to her lips. As Sarah drank, Adesua felt guilty. The last drop fell, and Sarah handed the glass back to her. Her eyelid grew heavy. You are so strong, Sarah, Adesua whispered. You'll be okay. But even as she said those words, she knew it wasn't true. Sarah's head rolled to the side and she slumped against the bed. Adesua turned to the door. With shaking hands, she unlocked it. Grace was standing there, her face mix of concern and irritation. Are you both okay? She asked, her eyes darting past Adesua towards the dark room. Adesua forced a smile. Yes, Grace, everything is fine. Grace, taking a step closer. Are you sure? I heard some noise in there. Where is Sarah? Is Sarah in? Adesua stepped into her path, blocking her from seeing into the room. Sarah isn't here. She stepped out. Grace raised an eyebrow, but Adesua's gaze was unwavering. Okay, if you say so, Grace said, her voice softening. She paused for a moment, then turned and walked back down the hallway. Adesua watched her go, then closed the door behind her. She was alone again, alone with Sarah. Adesua stood over Sarah's motionless body, her mind a tangled mess of fear, regret, and panic. Then, her phone vibrated in her pocket. It was Ade. Is it done? Adesua's throat tightened. She stared at the message, her fingers trembling. She typed back, not yet, but she's unconscious. The reply was instant. That's not enough. You know that, Ade said. She walked to the window, pulling the curtains aside slightly. The campus was quiet. Night had swallowed the school in darkness. She turned back to Sarah, her mind racing. What was she supposed to do now? She thought of calling an ambulance, but if Sarah woke up, everything would be over. She thought of running, but where would she go? Her phone buzzed again. It was Ade. Adesua, listen to me. You can't afford to be weak right now. If Sarah wake up, she will ruin everything for us. She will tell everyone what you've been doing. And me, you think I'll let you drag me down with you? Adesua swallowed hard, her fingers on her keyboard. Ade, I can't do this. I'm scared. His response was instant. Then let me help you. Adesua's blood turned into eyes. What do you mean? Leave the door unlocked. I will take care of it. Her fingers clenched around the phone. Was Ade talking about murder? Adesua shut her eyes tightly. Her pulse raising. Then her phone buzzed again. You are taking too long, Adesua. If you don't respond to me in 30 seconds, I will assume you've changed your mind. And trust me, you don't want me as your enemy. A chill run down her spine. She had to act fast. Her eyes darted to Sarah's wardrobe. A crazy idea formed in her mind. She could hide Sarah, move her before Ade got here. Buy herself some time. Her hands shook as she grabbed Sarah's arm and pulled her towards the wardrobe. Sarah was heavier, and Adesua's body screamed in protest as she dragged her across the floor. A bead of sweat rolled down her forehead. The wardrobe door creaked as she pulled it open. She bent down, lifting Sarah's lifeless body inside. Adesua wiped her hands on her dress, breathing heavily. Her phone buzzed again. I am outside, opened the door. Her stomach twisted into knots. Ade was here. She quickly ran to the door, her heart hammering as she opened the door. Ade stepped inside, his presence filling the small room with a chill. He was wearing a black hoodie, his sharp eyes scanning the room like a predator hunting its prey. He didn't smile. He never did when it come to business. Where is she? His voice was low and firm. I put her in the wardrobe, she whispered, avoiding his gaze. Good girl. A sick feeling twisted inside Adesua's stomach, but she forced herself to ignore it. Ade walked over to the wardrobe and placed a hand on the door. He didn't open it, not yet. He turned back to Adesua, studying her. His fingers on her chin. I'm here, he murmured, to handle things for you, to protect you. Adesua's eyes burned with unshed tears. Do you love me, Ade? She asked suddenly, her voice shaky. Something flickered in his eyes, something unreadable. Then his lips curled into a smirk. Of course I do, baby. I have always taken care of you, haven't I? He whispered. I made you feel beautiful when no one else did. I gave you the love your family never gave you. You trust me, don't you? Adesua nodded weakly. I do, she whispered. Then let me take care of this, he said, turning back to the wardrobe. Fear gripped Adesua, but she stayed silent as Ade reached for the door handle. He pulled it open. Sarah's body slumped slightly, her head still dropping forward. She was breathing barely. Ade's expression didn't change. Without hesitation, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small bottle. He twisted the cap off and a strong, sharp smell filled the air. What's that? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Ade gave her a sidelong glance. Insurance, he said simply. She wanted to stop him, wanted to scream, wanted to pull Sarah away, but she can't move. She stayed frozen as Ade pressed the cloth over Sarah's nose and mouth. Sarah jerked slightly, then she stilled completely. Ade held it there for a few more seconds before finally pulling away. The room suddenly felt too small, too suffocating. Adesua's entire body was trembling. Ade turned to her and smiled. See, there is nothing to worry about. Adesua stared at him, her vision swimming. What do we do now? She whispered. Ade took her hands, his grip reassuring. He leaned in, pressing a soft kiss on her forehead. Now we have to clean up the mess. And just like that, the last piece of Adesua's soul shattered into pieces.